The national media argues about a Senate filibuster. A massive move is quietly advancing that could change the rules for how you to vote. What paperwork you need to bring in, what happens if you cannot find it. Before you cheer, before you panic, and before you pick a side, sit with this for a second. Utah recently reviewed more than 2 million registered voters. Out of 2 million step review, they found 27 confirmed non-citizen registrations with a possibility of a lot more. Hold that thought, because depending on who you ask, these are either proof that a system works or proof that the system has a hole. And if you want the actual documents, the real numbers, and the part neither side puts in the headline, hit subscribe. If you want to support independent work like this, the Buy Me a Coffee link is below. www.buymeacoffee.com/bothsidespolitics helps keeps things going. In the next couple minutes, I'm going to show you 4 things. First, I'll show you the exact moment the Federal SAVE Act hit a wall again. Second, I'll show you the state map that proves why that wall might not matter. Third, I'll show you a courtroom twist from just a few weeks ago that threw the entire movement into chaos. And finally, the fourth, I'm going to show you a single legislative maneuver, a massive multi-billion-dollar lever that could force this policy into every state in the country without a single Democratic senator lifting a finger. Could that be a good thing or a bad thing? Comment below and tell me. I'm not going to tell you what that lever is yet, but I will tell you that if it works, it changes every federal election in the future going for you. Not sure if it's good or bad. Let's find out. To understand what is happening right now, you first have to understand what part of the system is failing. On February 11th, the House passed the Save America Act. We already know that. In plain English, it says if you want to register to vote, you have to bring documentary proof of citizenship. It also tightens the photo ID rules for federal elections. Supporters say it's common sense. Opponents say it is voter suppression. But it really is common sense, let's be honest. But you need 60 votes to break a filibuster. The supporters do not have them yet. So the press wrote the obituary, even though today a New Jersey Democrat House rep decided to flip and he now supports the SAVE Act. Look into that. You might think that ends the story, but it doesn't. Because this is the part that most people miss. States do not have to wait for Congress, and right now, a lot of them are not waiting. Now watch what happens next. While everyone started looking at the floor of the Senate, the states are starting to write their own rules. Arizona has had a bifurcated system for years. In broad terms, if you have to show proof, you vote the full ballot. If you do not, you vote federal only, which is stupid. You need it across the board. But then the dam broke. New Hampshire and Louisiana passed documentary proof rules in 2024. Wyoming did it in 2025. Let me translate that for you. We are not talking about one desert state running an experiment anymore. We are talking about a multi-state wave. But here is the key. Not every state is doing it the blunt force way. Some states are going, what if we just use the records the DMV already has? Well, DMV is not already accurate. That's not a small change. That's the difference between a system that protects the voter rolls and a system that accidentally locks out lawful voters who lost their paperwork in a fire. Think about what that means for you. If your state gets this wrong, you do not experience it as a policy debate. You experience it as a closed door on election day when you think you have that right. This should make you angry if you care about election integrity. It should make you angry if you care about voting rights. You need the system to do both jobs at once, which is why voter ID is common sense. And if you think it's easy to pull off, wait until you see what happens. New Hampshire moved fast. They enacted one of the most aggressive documentary proof laws in this country, and they are considered a pretty open state. Then they ran it through actual elections, and the rollout was rough because they didn't prepare. In May, the hammer dropped. The federal judge struck down parts of New Hampshire's new law because it wasn't passed by Congress. Now the state appealed in June. The fight is not over, but let that sink in. A federal court just looked at one of the strictest new state laws and said, you built this wrong. It is an unjustifiable burden because it did not address all the issues. This is a massive setback, and it proves that we need more work. Because building these systems costs millions of dollars. You need new databases, new staff training, new provisional ballot rules, and a massive public education campaign. When election administrators look at the price tag they bulk, cost is the single biggest reason these laws fail at the state level. Which brings us finally to that massive multi-billion-dollar lever I promised you at the top. What if cost disappears? Remember the filibuster, that 60 vote wall? There is a way around it, and the House is considering it. It's called budget reconciliation. And according to the Bipartisan Policy Center, the House's July budget framework now sets aside a specific number for an election related incentive. That number is $10 billion to help states cover the cost. But here's what that actually means to you. Instead of Washington passing a mandate that forces every state to adopt the SAVE Act, Washington simply puts $10 billion on the table. Then they say no state has to do this, but if your state adopts documentary proof of citizenship and strict voter ID, you qualify for a piece of this money. They do the same thing with uh, road funding. That changes everything. Every state that wanted this policy but flinched at that invoice now doesn't have a reason to. The calculation changes overnight. The single biggest practical objection, the cost of implementation, is erased by a funding stream that can pass with a simple majority. But wait, there's more. To be fair, the details of the framework are not final. Reconciliation fights are brutal, and the money is not out of the door yet. But the real choice, now let's look at this. Citizens verification matters. Pretending otherwise, not serious. But pretending that every document requirement is automatically fair or bad is just as stupid as well. Because once a $10 billion incentive is attached, this is no longer a symbolic fight on cable news. It becomes a serious state by state policy decision. If that money simply pays states to do it, great or bad. I think it's great, but you let me know below. It pays for accurate records, free access to necessary documents, clear appeal processes, and a verification system that catches real problems without burdening millions of lawful voters. That is a very different conversation, and this is where you, the voter, come in. Do you think these states should get federal money to implement these rules? Seems common sense to me. Drop your answer below. Support the channel through my Buy Me a Coffee if you want more fact first breakdowns. If you want more, hey, this is what it is. And if you want the next layer of how this story goes, subscribe, follow for more. I'll see you there.